Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks, where today we're going to be discussing my review of Leeds United 4, Oxford United 0. It was an absolute demolition job and we made Oxford United look like they just wanted to pack up and go home after the second goal went in. I will give Oxford their credit. They did actually attempt to play a tiny bit of football in the first half. We were lucky with a shot wide of the post and also a shot that just before half time it just sailed over the top of the crossbar, which we were very, very fortunate with. The game maybe shapes up to be something different in the second half if that one dips because of the wind and goes in. But we won't dwell on that too much. Let's get straight on to the good, which there is a massive list. We're back to the massive good list today, which is quite ironic considering it's Christmas time, and I do hope that everybody's been very, very good and is on Santa's good list. Leeds United players certainly are. Manor Solomon, he has improved. He's showing what he can actually achieve. He's showing the player that we actually got in August. You know, obviously he's had some difficulties getting in the starting lineup, difficulties with injury and fitness, but he seems to be showcasing quite emphatically how good he can be, and the fact that he is a cliched cheat code at this level. And if it wasn't for his injury record, there's absolutely no way that we'd have got him on loan from Tottenham in the Championship. So, yeah, obviously he was directly involved in 3 of the goals with 2 assists, and he slotted home the 4th goal just to kind of, chef's kiss the signed, sealed and delivered win at Elland Road. I don't think that he really did anything wrong. He showcased some really good strength, actually. Obviously with him being so physically, small, he's similar to Nonto in the fact of he can be quite, for somebody so short, quite physically up to the challenge and not scared to get involved. And obviously from a player point of view, that must be nerve-wracking from time to time when you consider his injury record and the fact that he's missed out on so many games of football over the years because of it. So the fact that he was just riding challenges, jumping over people's legs, flying in, just really not allowing himself to be bullied off the ball. I was incredibly happy with his performance. So, good on Solomon. He, for me, was my man of the match. I think that I would say a good 90% of us all would put Manor Solomon as our man of the match, because you can't really give it to somebody else when he's had 3 goal contributions in a 4-goal match. I was very pleased for him that he actually got his goal, because he'd been incredibly unselfish with his 2 assists, and he had really good vision throughout the game. So, yeah, he's my man of the match. I am going to give a mention to Dan James, because obviously he gets us, he gets us up in the first half. His goal was the only thing, the only difference between the 2 teams at the end of the first half and for the first kind of 10 minutes of the second half. He doesn't stop. He's just relentless. I absolutely love his energy, and I love the fact that he didn't stop trying to score even when we were like 4-0 up. He just wasn't stopping. He really wanted another goal, and he probably should have had another couple of goals. But yeah, I can't mention, he had Solomon not been directly involved in 3 out of the 4 goals, he would have probably been again my man of the match. At which point it's just the Dan James of the match award. But yeah, he was just loved him. Absolutely loved Dan James. Aronson had like a bit of a mixture. Sometimes he was frustrating, but he got his goal and he took it incredibly well. When he doesn't overcomplicate things in his mind and he does the simple and obvious thing, he's superb at this level. It's when he overcomplicates things in his head or doesn't have the kind of the guts to actually, he's almost too selfless because he doesn't want to muck it up, so he often offloads the ball to another player for them to take the shot when actually he had the better choice of shot. So the fact that he took his goal well and scored, I think that'll do his confidence, because myself, I've been very critical of him and I think deservedly so, but I'm more than happy to compliment him when he's done well. And I really thought that he performed well. And especially when you consider, another good thing that I've put, the weather was absolutely abysmal. Those conditions, the amount of crap that was coming onto the pitch as well, it looked awful. It kind of looked like we were playing in some kind of like abandoned scrapyard tip, with the amount of rubbish that was on the pitch. So the fact that a player who isn't, English didn't kind of, I don't know, just get dampened, both metaphorically and literally by the weather conditions, and the fact that he again was also relentless. Very, very happy with Aronson. First time this season that we have scored 4 without any reply. Obviously, we scored 4 in the Swansea game, but it was 4-3. This is the first time this season that we've scored 4 goals and haven't had any, conceded anything. Which again, that's just, fantastic. We had 4 different goal scorers. So even though obviously Solomon was involved directly in 3 of the 4 goals, we actually had 4 different goal scorers, which is something that is refreshing this season and something that we were struggling with. We were so Somerville Rutter heavy last year that the fact that even when there was one player who obviously Solomon was key to 3 goals, but the actual goal scorers, we had Dan James with the first, Bogle with the second, Aronson with the third, and then Solomon with the fourth. Like not many teams in the Championship in a 4-goal game would have 4 different goal scorers. Usually in those types of games where you're scoring multiple goals, you are going to have one player that, has a brace or a hat trick kind of thing. It's not often that you have 4 different goal scorers. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Nothing but good vibes. We had Ampadu back in the starting lineup, obviously the first time since his injury before the Norwich game. I can't remember who we played before then, but whichever game that was the last time that he was in the starting lineup. So Struijk was on the bench, so he was obviously not too injured, and hopefully that's just a case of not wanting to risk him, because obviously we've got 2 away games, and hopefully that frees up a bit of rotation. We saw last year that we rushed Struijk back after the hernia operation, double hernia operation, and that went disastrously for everybody involved, player and club. So I think the fact that we've now got Ampadu back, yes, he did look a tad rusty, but he grew into the game, and by the end of it, he was making some crunching tackles, which is really good to see. Again, there was no kind of doubt in his mind and kind of apprehension into going into slide tackles after being injured for like 2 months. I think the fact that he just kind of grew into the game and was the same old Ampadu. And I as well don't think he was like he was at the beginning of the season, when obviously the armband, I felt had made him go a little bit crazy at the beginning of the season, and he wasn't the same player. I think he has come back like the Ampadu of last season, which is the Ampadu that we need. So another brilliant thing of the fact that we've got another player coming back and another option for both centre-back and midfield. which is, the amount of depth that we have for this level is ridiculous. And I think that the fact that we've been able to see it more than last year not only reflects on the fact that we have better balance, it reflects better on the trust that Farke has with the players, and it also reflects on the fact that we are able to adapt, whereas last year when things started to go wrong or the players that we were so reliant on weren't turning up, we didn't really have other options, whereas now we don't have to rush players back. We haven't rushed Ampadu back. Ampadu is just, well, as Farke would say, he's Welsh, so of course he's going to come back because, they're made of tough stuff. Moving on to the next bit, we have the best goal difference in the league. We've scored the most goals. We've scored 41 goals now, I believe, which is the most by, I think, either 1 or 2 goals. So, best goal difference, most goals scored. Yes, we don't have the least amount of goals against us, but the fact that we're scoring so many and we have kept so many clean sheets, including, a 4-goal game, it's not often you get to score 4 and not concede anything. Just look at the Swansea game, look at the Huddersfield game last year when we were so dominant for that first half, scoring 4 goals in a half and then conceded a stupid goal late on. It's not often that you can score 4 without conceding anything. So, we created 23 shots, 9 shots on target. Again, I think they've been working on that. Bogle, in his interview after, said that they'd been working on kind of how to create against low blocks, which that gives me a little bit of confidence when it goes into the away form, because we know that we face low blocks at home and away, and yet we've been able to break it down at home, even if it's not been the most obviously jazz hands type of game. We've been able to break them down. It's just on the road. So the fact that Bogle's come out and said that they've been working on low blocks does make me feel a little bit more kind of, they all recognise that there is an issue there. And hopefully speed, composure, rhythm, and kind of the ability to move things faster, not necessarily the actual speed, but just short interchanges kind of thing, and patterns of play, and all of these things. So that really made me a lot more confident, him coming out after the game and saying that they've been actively working on that. So let's see, what we get. I've got that we looked hungry. Obviously, we had Nonto and Ramazani coming on. Ramazani should have got a goal. It went wide, and it was one of those moments that, had that been in the first half, had we have been under the cosh, you're screaming and kind of really getting kind of angry and rolling your eyes because of the fact that how many opportunities are we going to miss. But because we were 4-0 up at that point, we could all just laugh about it, and that was fine. It was just, oh well, he's coming back to match fitness. He's trying to get a goal so that he can be in question for the starting lineup. I like that. I want people to take those chances, and what better game? We're not going to have a better game than when you're 4-0 up at home to a team that are in the bottom 3, to a team that just looks so demoralised. By the time that Bogle scored the second, they just looked like they wanted to, pack their shit up and go home. So yeah, I enjoy the fact that we looked hungry and that we looked like scoring again and again. It's something that we've all kind of had question marks, complained about, moaned about. We just want more because we know that this team can deliver more. So it's nice to see that the players actually want to do it, and as well that there was no kind of potential of Farke holding anybody back. It was, everybody was just in a really good place, and it makes, I think, players feed off that. I think the competition, the fact that Solomon was so heavily involved in all 3 goals, in all 3 out of 4 goals, I think that says something, that another player has to come in and really make a difference, because how are you going to take Solomon out of the team now? How are you going to take Dan James out of the team now? Nonto and Ramazani, probably on paper, our most kind of technically gifted players aren't getting in the starting lineup because of Dan James, a player that a lot of people wrote off a couple of seasons ago, and an injury-prone loanee from Tottenham. You wouldn't have guessed that those would be the players that were choosing to start. And I think that that's just fantastic for Leeds United. That gives, those kind of vibes give me promotion vibes, because that's what you need. You need a squad. Last two kind of things are going to be our midfield duo of Rothwell and Tanaka. Rothwell's ability to create such effective, almost effective corners, given the weather conditions, hats off to Rothwell. I also thought he was just everywhere. Again, Tanaka was everywhere. They were helping each other out if there was a misplaced pass. Tanaka was, both of them took shots at the goal that were just fraction, so close. And I was critical of last year of the fact that nobody in our midfield, no matter which pairing you did, was really willing to take a shot. So the fact that Tanaka was so close, for me, that midfield goal is coming because both of them are taking shots that they wouldn't have done half a dozen games ago. So the fact that they're taking shots, the fact that those shots are getting, inch by inch closer, for me means that it's coming. Just be patient and we'll actually get a goal from midfield. I know it's scary, it's new. We haven't had experience with this until the playoff final last year, but there is a potential for a midfielder to score. I think that's it for the good. That's it's just a couple of tiny bits. We'll move on to, again, the very limited bad. There's not much that I can say wrong. Obviously, Pirro got the assist for Solomon's goal, but he is a frustrating character because, again, Dan James is kind of being robbed of assists, and the same for Solomon, even though obviously he got 2 assists. But there was the potential that if you have a 9 in a stereotypical 9 position, playing in that position, they're going to get on the chances that Dan James and Solomon created, and Pirro was often just, he wasn't there, hence why Dan James scored that cross from Solomon, hence why, Aronson scored that cross from Solomon. Bogle as well. Just, he's our most clinical finisher, is Pirro, but he doesn't necessarily, it's like he's a 9.5. He plays in the position of the 10, but doesn't have the creativity necessarily to have those kind of ideas and see that vision. He is very good at picking out a final pass. I will say that, because he's got quite a few assists this season. I'm being really, really picky because of the fact that we scored 4, but we genuinely could have scored more. Like that scoreline should probably be reading almost double. And that's not even me just being a Leeds fan and kind of white rose tinted glasses and all that. I hand on heart believe that we could have scored double, and that would have still been a fair reflection on how well we played, and essentially in the end how poor Oxford were. Another bad thing, can we do it away from home? It's not necessarily a bad thing on this specific game, but we're all thinking it. Let's face it. And the final bad thing, like I said, the list is very, very small today. Other teams all won. We didn't really get any luck in terms of, there was no points dropped. Sunderland came back and won. Burnley won. Sheffield United, we expected them to win, but against Cardiff, I believe. So all of those games, really, we kind of expected them to go, but yeah, we could have done with a little bit of luck of just any sort of dropping points. But the good thing is we scored 4, clean sheet. We're still top 2, we're top 2 for Christmas. And we haven't messed up in that game. So we're not the team that everybody else is grateful for dropping points. If only we could have had, a Burnley dropping point. To be fair, I'm almost at the point of, well, so far Sheffield, obviously, if you add on the 2 extra points, I'm not going to, because you've had them deducted for a reason. You gained an advantage by cheating, so you deserve to have the points deducted. But I personally would prefer if Burnley would have dropped points, because it just gives us a little breathing space, because we know that we've got 2 back-to-back away games, and right now we've got 1 point. So we need them to drop points if we were to drop points. Yeah, so I would have preferred if Burnley, if we could have only had one team drop points, it would have been Burnley for me, to just create that space. So yeah. Right, we'll move on to the enjoyment. And by this, I mean, we need to enjoy the journey. I think there's so much pressure in like this season. We all know that we have to get promoted this season, and that's not me being melodramatic or entitled or anything like that. That's just, we all know the financial ramifications if we don't get promoted this season, and we know that we are going to struggle to keep certain players, Tanaka, potentially Ampadu, Nonto, Ramazani. There's lots of potential that we would have to sell a load of players if we weren't going to get promoted, both for financial and also because of players' ambitions. The likelihood is if we don't get promoted, Barker would go, because the 49ers would see it as a failure. So then we have to have another manager churn. So we've all got that kind of in the back of our heads. It's like the devil on your shoulder kind of taking away those moments of enjoyment, because we're all just in the back of, yes, that's a good win. I'm glad that we've done that, but we should be doing that with the team that we've got, with the amount of money that we've spent and all of these things. And we're not actually enjoying the moment. Like, we just scored 4 goals and we didn't concede any. We have to enjoy these moments, because if you're to look at the Premier League, especially like this year, when how close we were to going up last season, none of those teams are having an actual good time. Southampton have got 6 points. They just got a draw today against Fulham, I think, a 0-0 draw. And Ipswich got battered 4-0. Leicester got battered 3-0 by a Wolves team that I don't know if they've kept a clean sheet this season. So none of the promoted teams from last season are having a good time. They're all miserable. And that's the place that we want to go. And we know that for financial reasons and to be part of the, to propel Leeds back to where, we all think that we should be, we know that we have to be there. But the likelihood is it's going to be crap for the first season at least. And there's going to be a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of change in players. There's going to be a lot of just disruption, even to do with if we go up, the expansion happens. But that means that there's the potential for things to be a little bit kind of off it at Ellen Road. I know that they're not intending on any of the stands being shut, but things just might not feel as good because, you've got large amounts of scaffolding or whatever kind of thing. So we need to enjoy these moments. We need to enjoy scoring, fun goals. We need to enjoy winning. We need to enjoy all of this, because look at how many games Leicester won last year, how many late comebacks Ipswich got. They were a pain in our arse last year. All of Southampton winning in the playoff finals against us. All of these things that we were envious of at the end of last season because we weren't going to be going up, and now they're miserable. And that there's a really strong chance, especially now with Wolves under new management, having taken points off Leicester, there's a really strong possibility that if Leicester continue to lose, Wolves go up, that every single team that got promoted last season comes right back down. And we know that Leicester would be financially in a really bad situation. We know that they would likely face a points deduction in the EFL. We know that, Southampton are going to have to sell people. We know that Ipswich will probably be fine because of the fact that they got there sooner than they probably were going to. But the likelihood is that they could lose their manager. So yeah, there's a lot of upset, but we want to be back there. But we need to enjoy it. So let's just enjoy this kind of roller coaster ride that is the Championship, and that also is our Leeds United. There's 72 points left to play for. There's so much that could happen in this season. We could go on an unbelievable run. Sheffield United could fall off a cliff. Sheffield United could go on an unbelievable run. We could fall off a cliff. There's so many ups and downs in it. And I really wish that people would listen to the lyrics of Marching On Together a little more closely, and accept the fact that we have to, enjoy the highs, and in a sadistic kind of way, enjoy the lows, because the lows are what make the highs seem so incredible. Otherwise, it becomes very bland. Man City fans obviously are going through, in comparison, a very, very poor form. But did they ever truly just enjoy it? And I think if you're just constantly at the top level with no real competition, you get lazy, you get entitled, it's boring. You need a shock loss in order to kickstart the enjoyment when you do win. And for me, football is about moments, and it is about feeling. And that game on Saturday made me feel happy, it made me feel excited. It made me feel, and I haven't felt an awful lot in the last kind of year and a half, 2 years when you count relegation season, just because it was such a shit show, wasn't it? So yeah, I've rambled on enough. That one went on a bit of a tangent, so I apologise. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I think if we can get the away form, we're going to be lethal. That's all we need to do. Just that away form. Home form's ticked off. We know what we're doing at home. We're very competent. If we get that away form, the league could be in for an absolutely incredible ride, and we need to strap in and enjoy every single second. Finally, I just want to say Merry Christmas. I'm wearing another Christmas jumper. And even if you don't like Christmas, do something that makes you happy, because I understand that it can be quite an emotional time for all sorts of reasons. But from me to you, Merry Christmas. Fingers crossed Leeds United don't ruin Boxing Day, because Boxing Day is my favourite day. So yeah, and obviously they ruined it last year for me. And just a slight thing that I forgot to say was, obviously, this exact game last year, we beat Ipswich 4-0 at home, and then we went and lost 2-1 and 1-0 to Preston and West Brom. So if we cannot do that, that would be good. Yeah, so Merry Christmas. Thank you for all of your support in this new channel. Next year, I've got loads of new ideas. I've got loads of plans. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Well, I'm saying hopefully as if you're going to really enjoy that. So if you don't enjoy it, then I apologize, but you're going to see loads more of me. So yeah. Okay. If you, again, as usual, like, subscribe, become a member if you want. But let me know if you agree or disagree with anything, hot takes, just anything in general. Let me know, discuss it. Join all of these crazy loving YouTube algorithm loving things. Yeah, do that. Okay. I'll see you in the next one.